My biggest disappointment of 2011 was probably realising that not every comic book game is as awesome as Batman Arkham City. I played Spider-Man Age of Time. It was probably the most shocking thing I've played all year. I drank a cup of coffee during the opening sequence. Action was rubbish, the plot was terrible, I couldn't crawl around corners. I really didn't enjoy it very much at all, so Batman was awesome, Spider-Man not so amazing.
My biggest gaming disappointment of 2011 was Red Faction Armageddon. After the last game, which was very expansive and quite fun, they seemed to decide to set this one inside a giant's colon and paint it in entirely different shades of brown. And I think you know you're in trouble with a game where smashing buildings with a massive space hammer sounds a bit like hitting a wet sock against the cardboard box.
My biggest disappointment of 2011 was Duke Nukem Forever.
Excuse me, Duke Nukem? Yeah, my kid's a real big fan. Go on and ask him, Jimmy.
I used to play that game so much when I was a kid and was really looking forward to having Duke back in my life, and he just turned out to be a real sad old man. I was sort of spent half an hour playing with some poo in the toilets and it just set the tone for the rest of the game. So, awfully disappointed.
Mr. Nukem, will you sign this for me?
Sure, kid, but I better not find this on eBay.
My biggest gaming disappointment of 2011 was probably Homefront. I actually don't think it was as bad a game as a lot of people made out. I think amongst the, say, top 10 or 15 shooters out there, and there have been a lot of shooters, it's pretty decent. The problem with it was that it was so ridiculously overhyped beforehand by a gentleman called Danny Bilson, who's the VP of THQ, and he built it up to be a AAA title on the same level as Battlefield and Call of Duty, and you know it plainly wasn't. It was a 7 out of 10 game, pretty fun game in parts, but once you create a product and you use those games to measure yourself up against, then you're always on, on a quest for failure, really. The game came out. The single campaign is about 4.5–5 hours long, which is obviously in this day and age a little bit crazy to release a game of that short length. And the multiplayer just did nothing new, really, and I think that if you're not going to bring originality to that genre, to the shooter market, then you're going to struggle, and you know the real downfall was building up too much beforehand, and it suffered a little bit as a result. And obviously in the wake of that, a studio closed, a lot of people lost their jobs, and we're now waiting to see what Crytek do with that franchise in 2014, which is a long way off. So yeah, sad one really, but I think that's a game that could have been so much better.